Oh, you cannot make this up. It's President's Day, the day we're supposedly celebrating the office, and people are outside Trump Tower basically saying, yeah, no, not this guy. And the energy, it's not polite. It's not subtle. It's straight up public frustration boiling over in real time. This isn't some online argument. This is bodies in the street, a message loud enough that nobody can pretend they didn't hear it. All right, let's watch. If you love explosive content like this and want to see more, click that subscribe button.
In Venezuela, Nancy Rodriguez last week said that Nicolás Maduro is still a legitimate president and is innocent. I know you said the relationship is a 10, but I'm curious what's your thoughts on that?
I think we have a great relationship. I think she probably has to say that. I think politically maybe she has to say that. But the relationship with Venezuela, she's doing a very good job. And I fully understand that statement.
You're going to have Ukraine talks tomorrow as well in Geneva with Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
Yeah.
What are you expecting there? Is there
they're big talks. It's going to be very easy. I mean, look, so far, Ukraine better come to the table fast. That's all I'm telling you. We are in a position, we want them to come. And by the way, I watched AOC answering questions in Munich. This was not a good look for the United States. I watched Gavin Newsom answering questions in Munich, and this was a bad look for our country. These two people are incompetent. And at least Hillary's competent. She's just Trump deranged. She was so deranged. She is an angry woman. But I watched the other two speaking and answering basic questions. Look, Gavin has destroyed California. And AOC, I never heard her speak very much. And they started answering questions. She had no idea what was happening. She had no idea how to answer, very important questions concerning the world. But she can't answer questions concerning New York City either, because New York City is got some problems.
Wait, hold on. Did he just say Ukraine better come to the table fast like it's a tenant late on rent? That's not tough diplomacy. That's mob boss cosplay, while he's casually name-dropping Geneva, Witkoff, and Jared like it's some Nepo baby G7. And then, because he can't help himself, he pivots to trashing AOC and Gavin Newsom for answering questions in Munich. In Munich. At an international security conference. Some of us show up and do the work without throwing tantrums. Also the audacity to call anyone a bad look for the United States, when this is the same guy who reportedly cozied up to strongmen and treated alliances like a protection racket. And notice the pattern. He can't argue policy, so he does the playground insult tour. All right, let's see what he says about Cuba next.
Mr. President, you're warning Cuba to make a deal. What does that deal look like? What do you want them to do?
Cuba is right now a failed nation. They don't even have jet fuel to get for airplanes to take off. They're clogging up their runway. We're talking to Cuba right now. I have Marco Rubio talking to Cuba right now. And they should absolutely make a deal because it's really a humanitarian threat. And we have a lot of great Cuban Americans, and they're going to be very happy when they're going to be able to go back and say hello to their relatives and do things that they should have been allowed to do for a long time. I'm very interested in the people that are here that were treated so badly by Castro and the Cuban authorities. They have been treated horribly. So we'll see how it all turns out. But Cuba and us, we are talking.
Oh, wow. Listen to how he talks about Cuba like it's a broken vending machine he can kick until it spits out a deal. Failed nation, no jet fuel, clogging up their runway. Okay, first of all, if you actually gave a damn about humanitarian suffering, you wouldn't treat foreign policy like a hostage negotiation. And the tell is right there. I have Marco Rubio talking to Cuba. Of course, you're not hearing a serious diplomacy strategy, you're hearing Florida politics. He's dangling families and relatives like props, like he's going to heroically allow Cuban Americans to see loved ones after years of hardline posturing that made everything worse. And the vibe is always the same with him. Big tough guy threats, zero detail, and then we're talking. About what? With what plan? With what safeguards? He sells drama, not solutions. All right, I'm bracing for the Epstein mess next.
So Hillary Clinton said in an interview today that she and her husband are getting pulled into the Epstein matter to divert attention from you and that your administration has something to hide. What's your response to that?
I have nothing to hide. I've been exonerated. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. They went in hoping that they'd find it and found just the opposite. I've been totally exonerated. In fact, Jeffrey Epstein was fighting that I don't get elected with some author, a sleazebag, by the way. And I've been totally exonerated. No, they're getting pulled in. And that's their problem. I don't know, they're going to have to see what happens. But I watched her in Munich, and she seriously has Trump derangement syndrome.
Do you think that she should publicly testify?
You know, I've been totally exonerated on Epstein. And it's really interesting because they've been pulled in. Think of it. They've been pulled in. Clinton and many other Democrats have been pulled in, yeah.
Oh my God, I've been exonerated. Exonerated by who, my guy? Your own vibes? Because that's the move every time. Big, definitive word, zero receipts. And then he pivots, like clockwork, into sleazebag author. They're getting pulled in. Clinton and many other Democrats. There it is. Deflect, smear, name drop, run. And let me just say this clean. Nobody is asking for vibes. People want transparency. The Epstein story is radioactive for a reason because it's about power, exploitation, and rich people protecting rich people. And Trump's history is always the same. If it makes him look bad, it's a hoax. If it hits his enemies, suddenly he's the district attorney. Also, Trump derangement syndrome? Buddy, the only syndrome here is accountability allergy. All right, if he's this defensive on Epstein, I can't wait to see who he's cozying up to internationally next.
It was because of that personal relationship. It's because we want you to continue, because we want this economy to prosper. We want this country to do well. It's in our national interest, especially as long as you're the prime minister and the leader of this country. It's in our national interest that Hungary be successful. It helps America, and obviously it helps you. So it's an honor to be with you here today. We have a lot that we can continue to work on. We also want to thank you, and I want to thank you on behalf of the President of the United States for the indispensable role you played on the Board of Peace. Not everyone's on the Board of Peace. And not everyone, you know, for different reasons, they can be participants or not be participants, but you are, and you've been there from the very first day. And again, a testament to the personal relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Orban that I think speaks volumes. The role you play geopolitically, the role you play even outside of this region in affairs involving the Middle East is invaluable and indispensable, and we are very appreciative of it.
Wait, did they just straight up say the quiet part out loud? Personal relationship. Board of Peace. Indispensable. Bro, this is not diplomacy. This is a fan club for strong men. And we're talking about Viktor Orban here, Mr. I'll rewrite the rules, squeeze the press, and call it patriotism. The same leader democracy watchdogs have been warning about for years. And they're praising him like he's some benevolent statesman because he's tight with Trump. That's the whole pitch. Not values, not human rights, not democratic norms, vibes, loyalty, back scratching. And that golden era line? Please. It's a golden era for oligarchs, for corruption, for guys who want elections without consequences. Tell me in the comments, when did America first become autocrats first? And why is it always sold like it's strength?
And there's so many other areas that we can work together on, especially on energy, but just so many areas of common interest. But I have to say this because it's important to understand. We are entering this golden era of relations between our countries, and not simply because of the alignment of our people, but because of the relationship that you have with the President of the United States. I don't think, you know, it is any mystery, and should not be a mystery to anyone here, how the President feels about you, how he interacted with you in his first term as President, and now in his second term as President. That relationship's grown even closer. And it's important to understand how important the relations between leaders are to the relations between countries. We are, at the end of the day, we are still human, we are still people, and that person-to-person connection that you've established with the President has made all the difference in the world in building this relationship and in hopefully growing this relationship even more.
Okay, so after all that personal relationship fluff, we land right back where this always ends. The people, in the streets, loud, unignorable. And yeah, the massive protests demanding his removal, that's not hysteria. That's accountability trying to breathe in a country that keeps getting smothered by ego and propaganda. Because look at the pattern we just watched. It's always the same playbook. Bully your domestic critics, wave your hands at foreign policy like it's a real estate negotiation, act like you're the humanitarian savior of Cuba, then magically declare yourself exonerated on Epstein and pivot to blaming everyone else, and then cozy up to strongmen abroad like it's a loyalty rewards program. So when people show up at Trump Tower with rage and sarcasm, good, that's democracy with a pulse. Stay engaged, stay loud, and tell me, what's the line for you?